Hey YouTube, been a while. So haven't made a video in a while, and I apologize for that. I've been busy, but the biggest reason you haven't seen me is because this hasn't been running. There was about 2 months in the summer that it did not run because I blew the transmission. I tried getting videos put together, and I've kind of lost a lot of videos along the way. So this is me rebuilding the transmission in this that you're going to see here shortly. And I'm not going to get into any specifics on it. I am not a transmission expert by any ways. There's guys that have way better information than I can give you. So it's just kind of like a montage of me putting it together. So enjoy. And there's a surprise at the end. Oh, buddy. There she is. Whew. Well, I got her power washed and thrown up on the bench here. Boy, there was some pretty good metal shrapnel sitting in the back. And in the words of Emeril Lagasse, I wish you guys had smell-o-vision because this stuff is rancid. Okay, things could be worse. Let's, ooh. That's ungood. Things are just grody. I mean, look at that oil. Yeah. That's just less than ideal there. I don't know what else to say about that. Yeah, we were due. So here we are the next morning. Yesterday got the transmission out and gutted out. So we're just looking at an empty case here. Man, things were dirty, like dirty. We've only done a couple transmissions before, and this one had more metal and black, nasty gunk in it than any of those other transmissions I did. But got all the parts sitting here on the work table. Kind of like this is your front pump, that's your output shaft. So it's kind of all in order. And just trying to keep myself organized. There's so many small parts and pieces. And again, I am not a transmission guy. So I really need to keep myself very organized in order to get this done. So I need to take this apart and see if the circuits in here signify that it is pulse width modulated or not pulse width modulated. I'm going to just very slowly and systematically take it apart and inspect. And so on a completely separate side note, the output shaft, where is it? Right here. Output shaft has a snap ring that's way back inside the case. So, you know, when you're working on it from that end there, you got to reach up in here and get the snap ring out. And look at it, the size of it. I look at the size of me. I don't quite wiggle and get back in there very well. So that was a little bit of a challenge to get that snap ring out. Everything else came out really good. And I have these really cool pair of snap ring pliers that are from my grandpa, and I had to modify them to make them work. So grandpa, if you're up there watching this, just know it was for a good reason. If you look at this circuit right here, there is a small little hole down inside there. And if it was a through bore, as far as that hole just went all the way through, that would signify pulse width modulation, but it's not a PWM. It has a little puck, and apparently some of the shift kits will have you drill this out to a larger size. But I got here a nice little intermediate clutch pack, you know, second gear. So we got a clutch, and there we go, and let's call that half a clutch. And then next up, we should have two steels. No, that's a steel. And then that's supposed to be a clutch. Freaking chocolate wasted right there. That is less than ideal if I know anything. And so this was our second gear. Just look at that smudge. Yuck. So that was second gear. That's completely wasted. And this is third gear here. And here, let me wipe the camera. It is also less than ideal. Now, we're finding issues. So now my question is, you know, I feel confident that I can put this back together, doing kind of the basics, throw steels, clutches in it, keep everything clean and organized. I can do that. What I am worried about is looking at some of these bushings. They are kind of in tough shape, and I don't know if I want to tackle pressing in bushings. So something I need to think about whether I am willing to try and do that myself or not. At this point though, being this tore apart, you take this to a transmission shop, they're going to tell you to F off. And so we'll see. So I'm kind of bench testing the solenoid pack here. Everything ohmed out fine. And so now I'm going to give it some pixies and activate each shift solenoid and make sure that they're working. And hopefully 18 volts isn't too much juice. Let's see. Good thing about being fat, you don't need a press. Just your massive weight. Had to make a second revision to the tool. It kept wanting to spread when I stepped on it. So there we go, some zip ties and back in action. So it's been a hot minute since you seen me last time. I really wanted to get some cool videos of me driving the Bronco around for you guys this summer. And unfortunately, things just got busy, and that didn't happen mostly because of this issue right here. About the end of June, on one trip, I just thought I was having engine issues. It seemed like it was down on power, and it just kept getting worse and worse and worse as the day went on. And finally got smart and started poking around underneath the hood, smelled the dipstick, and this thing was fried. So it wasn't the engine, it was the transmission, and second gear was completely roached out of this thing. I guess I've already taken this out and rebuilt it. Second gear was completely gone, and I am not a transmission expert at all. I've been inside a couple before, and I truly fully rebuilt this thing. All new bushings, Torrington bearings, thrust washers I've taken apart, all the pistons, all new seals, all new clutches, all new, I've been through this thing. And anytime I've been inside an automatic transmission before this, it was just opening it up and throwing new clutch packs in it and being on my way. I guess I've changed a spray out in one before. But there's a big difference between just opening it up and changing out a few parts versus going through the entire thing. And my confidence level on this is, it's like 60%. I have my worries. There's just a lot of moving parts and pieces, and there's just so many ways you can go wrong. So I'm not going to dive into any of the specifics on this until it is in that thing and running, because I don't want to lead you guys astray and give you some misinformation. But it was definitely a challenge for me. And hopefully it was a challenge that was worth it. But yeah, I was hoping I was going to get some cool videos this summer of me driving this thing around. And this happened, life happened, I got busy, parts were, this torque converter right here took me a month to get. That was probably the biggest setback. So my buddy Levi is going to come over in a few minutes. We're going to see if we can bench press this thing up in there. And hopefully I will see you guys in like 2 days and it's going to work. Well, should we find out how slow this thing is, Roddy? I don't know if I'm going to be able to drive and film at the same time.
was slow. Let's be honest. That wasn't pretty. So another reason you haven't seen videos even after I got the transmission together and it runs and drives technically. I'm having some drivability issues, kind of loss of power. I'm not really sure. I've struggled with distributors. I cobbled together 3 of the best used distributors I had, trying to make a good one, but the bushings were too wore out and I was getting a poor pip signal. So I ended up buying two new distributors. So on the 3rd one, I actually got a new distributor that worked. So that was a little bit of a thing, but it's still not driving like it used to. I kind of wonder if I'm not having a fuel pressure issue. The air mode of fuel pressure regulator appears to be working correctly. But one thing I need to do is I don't have a long enough hose on my fuel rail pressure gauge. So I need to take the hood off this thing and duct tape the gauge up somewhere where I can drive. So under full load, when I'm driving it, I can see what my fuel pressures are doing. I suspect I might have an issue there. And whether it's the fuel pump's getting weak, or I kind of wonder if that little homemade fuel pump hanger that I put in there for that, what is it, like a GSX 340, it's a 5.0 Mustang fuel pump, if maybe it's sucking up some air with the fuel, so I'm getting the correct pressure reads because everything's under pressure like it's supposed to be, but there's some air mixed in with the fuel and the fuel rail. Just a theory I have. We'll see. So yeah, it runs and it drives, but there's some issues, guys. To round out this video, my next thing that I'm doing, aside from trying to get it run correctly, is I'm going to put a cage in it. And believe me, guys, I am not Mr. Safety, like at all, like to a fault, honestly. You know, I'm the guy that hucks this several feet in the air, get more hang time than a Cessna without a seatbelt on, and I'm okay with it. But we've had some really close calls. I have a lot of friends that are not willing to ride in it with me anymore. They don't feel safe. They want a cage. They want a harness. So to make it fun for all of us and for safety, we're going to put a cage in it. That's not something I was when I originally put this together, I didn't think I was going to get to the point where I was going to need a cage to drive it. But we are there. And if I knew I was going to cage it when I originally built it, there's something different I would have done. Just something a little different. And, you know, it's just the right thing to do, I think. I think it's the right thing to do. But we'll save that for another video. See you guys.